So I just read about a motorcycle guy that passed 2 tractor trailers out and then got killed. Now you know what I'm talking about? Like, you ever see like those crotch rockets where they'll fly between the truckers and there's really not a whole lot of room. You know what I mean? It's just like one little mistake and you're kind of going to be road pizza.
There's not much room, period, if you're in a tractor trailer or, you know, like a car and one of them come flying between you.
But here's the twist on this.
All right, it's twisted.
So there's a guy on a Harley.
That's not a crotch rocket, though.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. You expect the crotch rocket guys to fly up between the trucks and pass them. But now here comes a guy on a Harley. And well, he was 28.
Yeah, he's a newbie yet.
And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the dead, but he was 28. He's no longer with us. So the trucker on the right, he had a blowout. Now, he was trying to slow down to get to the side. At the same time, a female trucker was overtaking him. So she was passing him. At that moment, the Harley guy thought, I'll just do my thing and fly up through.
Oh.
Right, exactly.
Got to do my Harley sound. I'm not really good at that.
It wasn't that bad, though.
Yeah. But it made it work.
But anyways, you know, like I said, I feel bad for, you know, anybody that loses somebody.
Yeah.
But the message has to get out there to these bikers. And because I'm a biker, you and I have been riding motorcycle for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they call it lane splitting. And I'll be honest with you.
It's actually legal.
In some states.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, just being honest, I don't like it being legal. I'll tell you why. I mean, I would say make it legal if they're going to come up through the lanes at a slow speed. You understand? I've already had a bike fly between me and another car, and you almost have a heart attack when you don't even realize they're coming by you. You know?
Right.
And here's the other thing. What if, which does happen, you have to swerve, and there's a guy on a motorcycle, and he's flying up through the lanes.
I agree. I mean, you know, you're saying, like, what if you have to swerve? It could be something in the road that they're not seeing that you're having to get out of the way of, because if not, it could hurt, you know, it could fly up and hurt not only you, but it could end up hurting someone else. Not only that, but how many of us sneezed while we're driving down the road and that little, you know, we stay in our lane, but we still go with the wheel.
Yeah. I've seen videos where motorcycle guys, they'll be following each other and they'll be like maybe 30 tractor trailers worth of passing, and they're doing like 100, and they're just zipping through these rigs, and you're looking at and you're thinking to yourself, okay, when is the mistake gonna happen? And I've seen it where they wreck. But my message to motorcycle guys and gals is, you absolutely cannot win if you bump or scrape one of those big rigs.
No, there's nothing that you're going to do to stop them, period. Yeah. If a car can't stop a big rig, there's no way you're going to. You know what I don't like what motorcyclists do?
What's that?
When they ride on the line.
On the line? Oh, you mean...
Yeah, they're just wanting to hang out.
Broken line.
Yeah, right in the middle of the road, basically, because you can't, you want to go up and go past them, but for some reason, they're right there, and it's maybe a narrow road or whatever it is, but I just want to sometimes push a little bit, but, I am a cautious driver, so.
I can understand bikers riding with their high beams on or flashing because people don't respect bikes, and I've had that.
Yeah.
But two things that I don't do. And I was taught this a long time ago. One, when I ride with other people, I don't ride side by side, because now I got to count on the clown riding his motorcycle beside me not to do something stupid and get me into a wreck. I don't ride close to them front, back, or side. And I do not ever ride on the broken line trying to force the guy that's passing me to almost go off the road around me. That is ridiculous. And, every now and then they get hurt too. So bottom line is semi-trucks and motorcycles do not mix.
No.
They don't
No,
mix.
not mixed together. You can drive a truck and then on your home time, drive your motorcycle. But usually the two of them together are not a good combination.
Well, I would tell you that there's a lot of truckers that are bikers, okay? And there's a lot of truckers, Ruthann, that are young truckers that have crotch rockets at home.
Of course, yeah.
Okay? And there's a lot of these guys that are very respectful. And then there's those drivers that they don't realize the limit they're pushing when it comes to, riding around. You hit a tractor trailer with your motorcycle, it ain't even going to budge. So your nickname is going to be Splat. So that's what I would just leave this with. I just thought I'd bring that up. So moving on. What a way to start the show.
Yeah.
Huh? A motorcycle tractor trailer story. Kind of crazy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I've seen truckers with their motorcycles mounted on the catwalk. So
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. And you know what truck driver does that, right? The guy that's literally probably out for months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're laid over somewhere, especially I'll tell you what would be really interesting if you're an owner operator, right? And you have your bike mounted on your catwalk and it's say January, but you get a load down to Florida or South Texas, somewhere where it's warm. Guess what? I'm unmounting my bike and I'm going riding for the weekend if that's where I'm going to be laid over. What do you think?
I think, I would, if I was a person that was out like that, I would want to have my comforts, especially with the motorcycle. I mean, you could just jump in it and you could, while you're down for the weekend on your 34-hour reset, or if you're spending more than a couple of days there, you can actually go around and see a little bit. That's what the perks of being a truck driver were, as far as like, I'm going to see the world type of thing, or see the country.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'll tell you why. If you're a truck driver that is long distance and you literally don't go home for many weeks to months, Ruthann, guess what? Not only bring your bike, your fishing pole. Do you know how many lakes are in this country? If you're laid over somewhere, toss in a line, enjoy yourself. Some truck drivers really do live the adventurous life while they're out there. And that's the one thing that personally impresses me. If you're going to be out there, I think 100% you'd be better off enjoying your layovers instead of just using it to do nothing at a truck stop. Anyways, moving on. Let's move on for real.
Okay.
All right.
I got a really interesting article here.
Okay. Well, why don't we take a break and then you can tell me about it.
Cool.
All right.
For over 20 years, Summar Financial has been a trusted partner for owner-operators and small carriers, providing fast, flexible, and transparent freight factoring solutions that keep businesses rolling. Here's why truckers choose Summar. Number 1, same-day payments. Number 2, if a broker doesn't pay, Summar takes the loss. Zero risk for you. Number 3, no reserve plan. Get all your money up front with no hidden final payouts. Number 4, no long-term commitment. Try Summar with no minimum volume requirements or long-term contracts. Number 5, fuel card program with top savings. The best network in the country, flexible payment methods, and IFTA support. With fast, hassle-free payments, technology-driven solutions, dedicated account executives, no surprises, no hidden fees. Trust Summar Financial to get your invoices paid today. And when we say paid today, we mean paid today.
For more information and to learn about Summar, go to landings.summar.com/TalkCDL. That's landings.summar.com/TalkCDL. If you're a driver looking for a new trucking job, check out NCI. NCI offers the following: new Kenworth T680s, competitive wages,
solo, team, and students welcome, plus a full benefit package for you and your family. Check them out today at 888-311-7076. That's 888-7076. And tell them TalkCDL sent you. At Spectrum Insurance and TruckingInsuranceGuy.com, we deliver fast, reliable, and affordable trucking insurance built for owner-operators and fleets alike. I used to be an owner-operator myself, so I know what matters on the road. Whether you're running cross-country routes or making local deliveries, we tailor your coverage to meet DOT requirements and keep your rig rolling. From liability and cargo to physical damage and more, we've got your back. Need a quote? Visit TruckingInsuranceGuy.com, or if you prefer to talk, call our Spectrum team for expert advice and unbeatable services at 507-884-1312. That's 507-884-1312, where there's always a human answering a phone. All right, we are back. You said you had an article that you wanted to talk about. Let's hear it.
I do. So I was scanning my little news stuff, and I seen one here for Leesburg, Florida, which, we all know Leesburg is outside of Orlando. Claremont, Wildwood area, that whole area is kind of Leesburg area. Well, there is a paper there called the Daily Commercial that put an ad in, or not an ad, but put an article up about plan to limit speed of trucks, large trucks, comes to stop. Florida gets grant to increase rig parking. How awesome is that? So basically what they're stating is that the Trump administration said it's putting a stop to the 2016 plan to set a de facto national speed limit as low as 60 for big rigs and buses. What they're coming to find out is, even though there's more trucks on the road, limiting the speed, of course, we've all discussed, it hinders the flow of traffic. But what it's also doing is it's pushing some of these big trucks onto the side streets that they don't want them to really be on, because that side street, is more 60, so it could go into there, but it's causing more traffic then in those side streets instead of onto the interstates because the truck's being slower. It also said here that the U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy announced on June 27th, his department will deliver more than $275 million in grants to expand parking access for truck drivers nationwide, including $180 million for Florida alone.
Okay, so they're going to start expanding. My take has always been every town should be obligated to literally providing, parking, especially if they have deliveries. You know what I mean? If you're delivering in a certain town, that's always been my take. You should have at least the obligation of a rest area set up outside your town. And, because why should a truck driver have to, suffer for coming into your area because you don't provide parking? So that 100% is definitely different news. We'll see what's going to happen. Now, you said $275 million to each state, or
just a nationwide, where 180 is going right to Florida itself.
So it's kind of a weird number, because if my math brain. So if 275 million is going nationwide, but 180 million is going to go to Florida, that leaves 95 million for the rest of the country. It's kind of a weird statement, but
it might be going because of the different cities. Like Florida might have certain areas that are a little bit more in need of the truck parking. So with needing to have some of the, because we have a lot of, we were discussing it just the other day, we have a lot of area, a lot of open ground that they could just easily turn into parking areas. And that might be why. And, certain other areas like, New York City, they don't really have that ability.
Yeah, New York City doesn't even allow you to idle.
I know.
Your truck for more than 2 minutes. So I guess we'll see what happens. Interesting.
That's all we can. I mean, I just thought it was at least it was some kind of like little light there that, people were trying to make some changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, cool. Thank you for that interruption. I mean, article. I'm just kidding.
I interrupt you.
So, you know what's funny? I looked up and I was...
Sorry.
What?
No, it's funny. I looked up. What'd you see when you looked up? The sun?
No, I looked up an old article, you goofball.
I'm just saying.
You're too fast. No, I looked up an old article because I was sitting there thinking to myself, I haven't seen this article in a long time. And I know it happened in Kentucky, but I ended up not finding it. But I found another one, a similar story, and I thought I would mention this story, which is kind of I'd like to start introducing the dumb trucker of the week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because there's many, obviously, and I could say that because I'm a driver. But this guy robbed a bank. Okay, back in, I guess just a few years ago, he robs a bank. And it says, it seems there was a bank robbery in Arkansas where the suspect used a stolen bobtail.
Okay, now I remember what you're talking about now. Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, uses a stolen bobtail semi-tractor without a trailer attached. They're explaining what a bobtail is, as a getaway vehicle. It says the suspect, identified as Brandon McGruger, was a listen to this. He was a former Swift employee.
Poor.
Right? Poor Swift. I don't really care. I mean, it says, he was a former Swift employee who knew where the company kept its vehicle keys. Now, notice it said he was former, because he had been fired, but he knew where the keys were at. All right. Mm-hmm. It says surveillance footage showed McGruger leaving the bank on foot and then getting into a blue bobtail, because this is a different truck. It's not a Swift truck, so that doesn't make sense, unless it was. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It says on Manor Street, which then traveled north on the East Interstate 55. So this is in Arkansas, on the I-55 service road. It said the stolen bobtail was equipped with, you ready? GPS tracking.
Hello.
I mean, it doesn't get any better, which ultimately led police to McGruger's location and allowed them to take him into custody. McGruger reportedly admitted to stealing the vehicle the day before the robbery. Now, and you think about this, some things are just not well thought through. Would you agree? Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree if you're going to go and take a truck, knowing that 90% of them really are GPS'd.
Well, I would say, check this out. Even if there wasn't GPS, how hard is it for witnesses to go, he's in a semi truck, and here's the name on the side of the truck, here's the DOT number, oh, here's the phone number. It doesn't get any easier to track the bad guy than when he's actually in a tractor or a tractor trailer.
Yeah, it's not like he's in something that can be like a easily to get away with, like a crock rotchet that you can just
Did you just say crock rotchet?
I did. Sorry.
A crock rotchet?
Crock rotchet. Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But no, seriously, I was thinking about that earlier because the same thing happened in Louisville, Kentucky, probably about 10 years ago, where a guy came out, walked down the street, went around the corner, got in a bobtail, and took off, and he was easily caught because he was in a tractor trailer.
Was it that one that was dragging like something with it? Like it took out a pole or did something where it was just dragging something with it at the same time of trying to steal it?
No, you're thinking about, and this is another dumb trucker, okay? In Iowa, back when Smithway Motor Express was in business, SMX, if you guys recall this company, they had about 1,200 flatbeds. They hired a guy, went through orientation. Now, this is the weirdest thing. Goes through orientation. This is in Fort Dodge, Iowa, this happened. He gets hired, goes through orientation, gets his fuel card, gets, I don't know if he had a load on or not yet, but he had his trailer. He goes down to the local gas station, right? He literally robs it. Goes in and robs the gas station. And as he's going to get away, his tandems hook onto a lady's Volkswagen Bug. And
that's it.
Do you remember that? And he's trying to get away, and he's dragging the car down the road. So, I mean, it's pretty easy for everybody to go, okay, what's the suspect driving? Well, he's driving the tractor trailer that's dragging a Volkswagen Bug. It's really hard to find, right? I mean, I'm just saying, some people just do the dumbest things.
Can you imagine, like, as you're sitting there as a kid, we all played punch buggy. Can you imagine seeing the truck go past you, and you're doing the air horn for the tractor as it's going past you, and you're looking, and all of a sudden it's a punch buggy being
Punch buggy blue.
So you're like looking at it, trying to figure out the whole thing, and then you just want to go and punch your sibling and say, not only did I get an air horn, but I got a punch buddy.
Punch buddy.
Punch buddy.
Boy, you're tongue tied today.
I am tongue tied today.
No, but seriously, it's amazing. And what's really bizarre about that is the guy just got a job, and he could have used his fuel card to get money, and he was going to get paid the following week. I'm just saying, how does that make sense? You come in, go through orientation, get a job, and then go rob something in the company issued tractor. I'm trying to think of the logic behind that.
We're never going to get the logic, because you have drivers that do just as silly of things as, that one did that. How many drivers have, companies that we talked to where the driver had told them, I mean, just recently we had talked to one where the driver admitted that he does a controlled substance, went to do his drug screen, didn't tell anything to safety, but yet I'm going to let my company, the screening office do it. So they let them know, no one else know. And then it's like, okay.
Yeah, that was the guy that was on Vicodin.
Yeah.
And he had a prescription for it. And he was under the impression that because he has a prescription for it, it's okay to take narcotics while driving a tractor. I'm just saying, people.
I know.
We should do more
Do you remember
stories on that, because it's like, guys, seriously, you got to know the rules if you're going to be a truck driver.
Do you remember the one that was on his way to orientation? And
yeah, I do. The guy that
partied.
Yeah, the
on
guy
the bus.
He failed the drug screen, and the recruiter or whoever the company asked him when he failed the drug screen, they told him, hey, you obviously failed. The doctor told him. And so they were talking to him about it, and they said, you failed it for cocaine. That's usually 72 hours in your system. And he said, yeah, I know. I met a couple girls on the bus. What? So you did drugs on your way to do a drug screen? He goes, yeah, I'm stupid. But it's like...
Stupid. You just lost 2 years of your CDL. That's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't get the way people think.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're never going to understand it.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So...
I mean, they're all ridiculous. I'm not going to come to work because I can't drive that slow of a truck, but my house is, my cars are repoed, I'm getting kicked out. All this strange stuff. We don't understand their logic. We're never going to.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's my little story behind the guy that robbed the bank, and then he used a bobtail to get away. A former Swift driver.
What would you use if you were going to rob something to get away with? What are you going to use? Me
personally?
Yeah.
Now, first off, if I'm going to rob something, I want to make sure that it's worth, you know what I mean? And I don't personally think, even if I robbed something and I knew $5 million was in something and I was going to walk in with a gun, but I knew if I got caught, I was like 10, 20, 30 years in prison. I don't care how much you pay me. It ain't worth me going into prison and having to marry some guy. Okay. I'm telling you.
Was that episode of Dexter last night that we were watching? He said, meet your friends.
Exactly. That is not in any way something. But if I were to rob something, right? First off, I would want to be disguised. I would not want to have any DNA that could, because, you watch all these these shows where the little one hair and you're caught,
Forensics.
right? The forensic stuff. So you'd be better off shaving yourself totally down, right? To where like not one hair could fall off you. Make sure you don't cut yourself in it. So there's a lot of caution. I do remember this one guy. I remember, which I thought was pretty cool. This guy used to, he was a bank robber, and it went on for a couple years. And here's how he was doing it. He wasn't in a semi truck. He wasn't even in a car. He would literally find banks that had woods near it, right? And what he would do is he would somehow get his dirt bike with no license on it, no serial numbers on it, the whole 9 yards, and he would have it parked inside the woods line, right? And he would rob a bank, and then he would be able to get to his dirt bike, and then he would literally get away that way. And I'm not sure. I think he had like a van or something where he would put the dirt bike in, and he would literally be in an area where there was no cameras. It was all my luck, though. There'd be one of those trail cams where they're
now, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, all right, I got away with it, right? And then you'd see me in a buck. You know what I mean? Wanted, not the buck, but this guy, right? But no, seriously, something to that effect. If I was going to rob it, I would want to be in, out, right, and not in traffic. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to be, you come running out and jump in your car. Somebody's liable to go, oh, there's a picture, they call the police. He's in a Honda Ridgeline going down the road, right? Now, all of a sudden, you're on a chase. Right. I wouldn't want to get chased.
You also have too many of the cameras, whether it be the ATMs, whether it be other commercial businesses nearby that have it at their doorway, the cameras. So really, anymore, it's really hard to do stuff with cameras so evident.
Yeah, I personally find trying to get away with a crime scary. Me personally,
I agree.
Not that I'm afraid of the action. I'm afraid of getting caught and then being in prison for a long time. I just wouldn't want to do something like that. So, I would say probably I would have to do it that way. If I'm going to rob something. If I was out of work for a long time and I thought, well, how about Bank of America? I mean, just in our area alone in Citrus County, how many people have we seen rob banks and they get caught?
No, every time.
So here's the other thing that you got to watch for. Everybody carries a gun.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I mean? Like, I would not want to be a robber that goes into a 7-Eleven or anywhere and tries to knock it off, and you got some hero with a 45 behind you as a customer, blows you away, and guess what? He'll never do a day in jail because he just literally stopped a crime.
Mm-hmm.
So something fast without a license plate that could go in the woods and I could, get away. That's probably what I would do. Yep. What do you think? I wouldn't make a good robber.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not going to be robbers.
Yeah.
We're not Bonnie and Clyde here.
You know what? It reminds me of Point Break. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I can tell you in my little peon brain that I was thinking, though, if you want to hear my theory.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay, so as a woman, you can go in and you could rob the bank. You could be still in your little petite way of doing things, however you want to do it, right? Go in there. But outside of the bank, maybe around the corner, like some alleyway, you stash a fat suit, right? Or a pregnancy belly, right?
Yeah.
And when you run out of the bank, if you survive, and you run around the corner, you change into that pregnancy belly or a fat suit, and you put the money in the pregnancy belly, right? Because I've seen people doing that stuff.
Sounds like you've thought this through.
No, this is just like quick thinking.
Okay.
So... But what you do is you act like you got hit, bumped, and knocked over, and you just sprawl your purse everywhere. And when someone comes out saying that they're going to, did you see that person? They went that way, they knocked me over, and my stuff's everywhere. You get away with it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you will.
You know what the problem is? More than anything, besides the guns and somebody taking the picture of you, it's all the
Everybody else videoing.
the CC, what do they call them? CCW or the closed caption cameras or whatever. They're everywhere. They're at every 7-Eleven. People have dash cams. People have their phones. There's cameras at red lights. They literally, what's really crazy, they're so good at tracing you. If you're like a trucker or anybody that wants to rob something, literally they time it, and then they start looking at traffic patterns and vehicles that they knew got away, and then they look at you 10 miles down the road where you went through a red light, and then they're looking at cameras at a car dealership, and they see where you pulled behind something, and ironically there's that vehicle, and boom, you get caught. I'm telling you.
That's what I was saying. There's so many cameras you can't.
Yeah, forget that. I'm not into it. So anyways.
And those, I know we have them in our area where, people have the Ring. When you're part of like the Ring or certain other neighborhood doorbell camera thingies, they literally share everything. So, police go to them. They'll say, hey, I seen that there is a group of Rings. They'll walk to you and they'll come up to you and say, I see you have a Ring camera or you have one of these kind of cameras. Do you have any footage from this time frame? And they'll pull it up from there.
Cool. Moving on. Let's move on.
My theory was still good.
It's good, but let's move on.
Attention trucking companies and truck drivers. If you need help with cash flow, we've got help on the way. Turn to Tab Bank, the bank that knows trucking. Tab Bank has been in the business of helping truck drivers and trucking companies with their cash flow needs for 25 years. It's just that simple. It's what they do, but they don't stop there. Tab Bank helps grow your business with their invoice, factoring, and banking services. What a plus that is. Before you book your next load, play it safe and contact Tab Bank to get their help with your factoring needs. Tab Bank helps determine the credit worthiness of your customers as well as billing and collection efforts on invoices that you factor with them. Let the experts at Tab Bank get you cash quickly for the loads you deliver. Again, it's what they do. Visit tabbank.com/TalkCDL to learn more. That's tabbank.com/TalkCDL. Tab Bank member FDIC.
Truck Parking Club is a network of instantly reservable daily and monthly truck parking locations throughout the U.S. Truck Parking Club helps connect truckers to truck parking locations throughout the U.S. via truckparkingclub.com. Our networks is made up of property owners that have locations adequate for truck parking to list on the platform. This includes trucking companies, storage companies, CDL schools, trailer leasing companies, real estate investors, truck parking operators, and more. Go to truckparkingclub.com today.
All right, so one last thing that I'd like to mention.
What's that?
This is interesting because I heard a lot about this over the last year or two, especially. Listen to this title of this: Court sides with deaf trucker in discrimination lawsuit filed against Warner. Exactly. So now I'm going to read it and we'll talk about it. Let me kind of scan through this. It says an appellate court sided with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in an employment rights lawsuit filed against trucking company Warner on behalf of a deaf truck driver. It says on July 10th, 2025, the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals unanimously affirmed a judgment favoring the EEOC in a lawsuit initially filed against Omaha, Nebraska-based trucking company Warner, which is Warner Enterprise. Warner told Victor Robinson that because he was deaf, they could not hire him as a truck driver, even though he had graduated from truck driving school, received his commercial driver's license, and obtained from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, an exemption from the hearing regulation for the operation of a commercial motor vehicle. Now, I'm going to stop there for a second because I think that the amount of money he got was huge. But so check this out. I've been hearing trucking companies tell me this same thing over the last couple of years, right? That they do not want to hire somebody that was deaf. Now, I have talked to some deaf truckers on the phone. They have I guess like an interpreter. It's a program where you call them, right? And there's this answering service. It's set up in today's computer era. You're talking to a person that's, I guess, typing back and forth to the truck driver on an app or whatever they're using. So, like, for example, let's say there was a truck driver in Georgia, and I wanted to call him right now. If you were working for the service that is the basic go-between the person that wanting to call, you would answer the phone and you would say, "Hi, you're calling blah blah, and he or she is using service blah blah. What is your call about?" And then as you're talking to them, right? You now start talking to that interpreter as though they are the driver.
Correct. I heard that.
Right. So now I would say to you, "Hey, Ruth Ann," or not Ruth Ann. Let's say the trucker's name was Joe. I would say to you, "Hey, Joe, I was just calling about your truck." Or for whatever, right? "Hey, Joe, I was calling to give you your load," right? Or however it would work out. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you are now typing to the deaf trucker, and he is coming back to you. Now, I don't know if they're typing back and forth or how it's working, but it works very good because I've talked to a bunch of deaf truck drivers, right?
Yeah, I think it's just like a very minimal lag, between the talking. Yeah, like between them, it's just like a small lag because of the typing, and that's it. But it's not. They're fast, so
it's a 1 or 2 second lag.
Yeah,
like you said.
That's what I mean. It's just really small.
So you have this trucker, right, that now has the means to communicate. But you see, trucking companies, they all have the same attitude. They all have the same attitude as each other, all the other ones. And that attitude is, well, if they can't communicate directly with dispatch, we're not going to hire them, right? So it's more of an inconvenience to the trucking company when they're hiring a deaf guy, right? Now, for example, you're out in Arizona in a bad area. Now, what if your internet's not working right? If you're in an area where the internet's not working right, how is the trucking company now going to communicate with the truck driver? Well, guess what? It would be no different if I could talk and hear, right? Mm-hmm. If I didn't have internet, you still couldn't call me and talk to me. Mm-hmm. See, that's what some of them were saying. What if his service is down? Well, it doesn't matter. What if you're a perfectly good hearing and speaking driver is in an area where you can't get service to him anyways. So realistically, I can understand the discrimination lawsuit is what I'm getting at. I can understand it because all you have to do now is you can pick up the phone and you can call that interpreter. And it's not just one interpreter, it's just the whole system. So they have many people working for them. So when you call that driver, you're basically getting somebody on the line that is acting on that driver's behalf.
Right.
So
I would think that some of them were more or less having an issue with the safety precautions. At least that's what I would have thought of at first. As far as like hearing an emergency vehicle coming up or certain other things, because they can't hear a wreck happen. They have to be so visually vigilant. You know what I mean?
I'm with you on that.
That would be the only thing that I would see. But generally when you're missing a sense, your other senses are hyper. So because they can't hear, they're probably so diligent on visually watching out for everything that they might be more of a in-tune driver because of that.
Well, you got to remember the DOT gave him what? An exemption. Which means they're saying he's okay. So, if you can operate a car, a tractor trailer, whatever the case is, all right, I agree with you. You know, you're not going to hear certain things going down the road because of your handicap. But if they're saying this guy's capable, then he's capable. But let me finish the rest of the article.
Yeah.
It says in September of 23, a Nebraska jury sided with the EEOC and Robinson, awarding $75,000 in compensatory damages and $36 million in punitive damages. So you're talking a lot.
That's a little extreme, wasn't it?
Well, that's why I brought it up. It's like $36 million. And now you know they're going to appeal that. You know,
I would.
I mean, do I think he had a right to sue them?
Yeah.
Sure. But for even $3 million.
The $75,000. I mean, that's what he would have made for a year income plus. You know what I mean? Because he was a student.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
He could go somewhere else to work.
They call that the David and Goliath syndrome, where a jury feels really sorry for, somebody, and then they really award them this gigantic number because they feel that, Goliath picked on David. Well, I 100% agree that he had a right to sue, but $36 million, I think, is a little extreme. Mm-hmm. And so my message to trucking companies out there is beware.
Watch your butt.
Watch your butt, guys, because this is what they call where they file. They use this as an example in the courts. So if you got, and I know for a fact there's been many other truck drivers that were probably told that they, were not going to be hired because of their handicap. Well, I would tell you guys out there, all you trucking companies, be very, 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 very careful with this one, because that was an insane amount of money to be awarded. $36 million. That's
Do you know
crazy.
how mad Werner's probably at the recruiter that said, we can't hire you because you're deaf?
Actually, it wouldn't have been the recruiter. Well, then again, he may have taken it on, but he might have taken it on because of the safety department telling him.
Yeah.
Usually
we can't hire him, and then the recruiters might have been a new one saying, hey, we can't hire you, and not realizing.
But a recruiter wants to hire everybody they can. So
I know.
Guaranteed, every time they're not sure, they're going to run to their safety department and say, hey, what about this guy? So, and then, maybe going on what you just said, maybe the safety guy said, no, we're not going to hire anybody. We can't because they're deaf. And the recruiter probably wasn't supposed to go and tell them that.
That's what I'm saying. The recruiter was probably supposed to not say certain things like that.
Yeah.
Because we all know there's certain things that, companies don't want to take that liability on.
Yeah.
And as a person that's that in between the safety telling you we can't because of this reason, the recruiter is trying to appease the driver. They can't say anything. So generally the recruiter says, you have to contact us. You're going to have to send an email or whatever it is that they usually say. Well, some recruiters, especially your new ones, might just open up their mouth and say, nope, can't do it, buddy. And say whatever the reason is. And they just got handed it to them.
Yeah. So, but anyways, watch your butts, trucking companies, because you might want to think twice the next time somebody calls in, especially with an exemption. Because, Ruth Ann, there's been other things, like, for example, if a driver is missing an arm or he's missing a leg, they get DOT waivers or exemptions. They have to get this, and then they are permitted to drive. And be careful discriminating against the handicap, because that was crazy, that kind of an award.
Did it say how old the driver was? I'm just curious.
Let me look and see. Hey, let me see here. Not really. It doesn't say. But what does it really matter?
It's more curiosity,
Whether he's a young trucker or an old trucker. But one thing is,
he's set for life now.
One thing that's for sure, he doesn't have to drive a truck anymore.
That's if they don't overturn it.
Well, I agree. That definitely will go to appeals. No doubt about that, for a long time. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, moving on. You got the word of the day?
I do.
What you got?
Aporia.
Aporia?
Aporia.
Say it again.
Aporia.
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 Is it just like it sounds? Aporia?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's going on? What's aporia? Aporia. I don't even have a clue of aporia.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had a couple of things, but I actually really liked this one. So it means an irresolvable internal contradiction or logical disjunction in a text, argument, or theory. Or, number 2, rhetoric, the expression of doubt. So, to give an example, Mark Antony gives a speech dripping with aporia in the third act of Julius Caesar. So it's basically when they do either an expression of doubt or it's like a theory or kind of like a little bit of an argument. You know, it's just like today's English class will focus on rhetorical devices such as aporia.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So there you go.
yeah, interesting. So moving on here for a second, I just want to keep mentioning the Florida Truck Show, February 21st and 22nd, 2026. TalkCDL is planning on being there. We already have our hotel booked. And Lord willing, we're also planning on being in Louisville this coming year. And that's usually in March.
Correct.
So, and then, June, we're trying to book the year out. So, I'd like to hit Texas in Houston in June.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, same people have it. And then possibly even California next year.
We're going to try.
Yeah, we'll try to do that. I'd love to hit Walcott. I'd love to really get out there and hit a lot of the truck shows. So, anyways, that's just a quick announcement. Anybody else that's looking to be come on the show, and if you got a trucking story or something, write to us, RuthAnn at TalkCDL.com.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.